Oh, it started recording so fast. Okay. So, step one is you kind of want to log into your router. So that's going to be either 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1, depending on your router. And the default login is admin. Now, what we want to do is go to our network adapter, and I know this is different on Windows 10, but you might be able to have to Google how to get to your network adapter in Windows 10. Once you find it, you want to go to IPv4 and properties, and what we're going to do is set up an IP address in here so that your computer's IP address doesn't change. This isn't totally necessary to run the tribe server, but if you don't do this, then your IP address will change eventually, and you have to configure your router firewall. Basically what happens is you can host any server you want on your computer, but your router is not going to show that server to the internet unless you tell it to. And when you tell it to do that, you have to do it by a specific IP address. And so as soon as that address changes, it's not going to be shared online anymore. So what we're going to do is start CMD, right click, run as administrator, ipconfig all, ipconfig all, no slash. Now there's going to be a bunch of unused network devices here, so we just want to find the one that actually has information in it, which is here. You can see my IP address right now is 192.168.1.242. That's the one that was just automatically assigned to this computer by the router on startup. So we want to set up a static one that doesn't change. So we can use this 242 number that's already there, but it'll just make it so it never changes instead of being temporary. So 68.1.242 subnet mask. I press tab, it jumps to subnet mask that automatically fills in, and you can see it matches this subnet mask here. And default gateway is going to be your router's IP address, which is this 192.168.1.1. DNS servers, let's see. I guess we can just use the Google DNS servers, or I think you can put in your router's IP address too, but that's a Google DNS server there. And then I'm just going to put in the router's IP address as a backup DNS server. I'm going to click OK, close. And I can see this went to a yellow triangle, no internet access. Now we have internet access. So now our address is static. So if we press up and enter, refreshes this information. So now this 242 is permanently going to be that for this computer. So now we can set up our router and everything. So now what we want to do is, let's see where this, there's two ways to do this. There's see if I can find it. There's a DMZ host, which is sort of the easier way to do it. You only have to put in one address. And then there's the port forwarding way to do it, which takes a little bit more setup, but not even that much really. So let's see if we can find here's where your automatically assigned address range is going to be. So if that's And here's where the DNS servers would go if your interface was going to your router's DNS, but let's see here. Here's all the connected devices right now. Oh, here we go, NAT forwarding, that's what we want. Okay, so DMZ, this is the easiest way to set up your tribe's host. All you do is you put in your IP address that you're hosting your tribe server on, 68.1.242, which is the one we just set up. We can click Save. Now we can go ahead and run the tribe server software, and it will be available to connect to for players over the internet. The other way to set it up is through port triggering. This is only necessary if you want to run multiple game servers with different IP addresses. So if you're only running Tribe's server, then you can just use the DMZ method. Although that does open up your entire computer to the internet, so that can be slightly riskier, but it's never been a problem for me. So here's the other way to do it, is you go to Tribes. There's actually a list of forwarding ports. I'll have to make a separate video about that because it's a whole bunch of, there's like 7 or 8 different port numbers you have to put in that I have to look up. And then you just click Save. But for now, we'll just do DMZ. So, we've got our 242, which matches our computer's IP address. So that's all good to go. So now, if we go to tribesvengeance.net, then tutorials, server hosting tutorial, download the tribe server beta.exe. So it's talking about opening ports, but that's what we just did with our DMZ host, so we're done with that. I've never done this disable game spy thing, and it's always worked for me, so let's just skip past that. .part, oh, it's still downloading. I think we have it already, let's see. Tribes. Maybe not. Alright, well, this is almost done downloading here. Alright, so our server's done downloading. Let's go ahead and run this. Let me see if I can, where do I want to put this? How about on the D drive? Actually, sometimes that messes stuff up, doesn't it? Sometimes things have to be on the C drive. We've got plenty of space there, so let's go ahead and just do that default location. And you can basically just follow this tutorial. Do we have a new shortcut? No, we have to go find it. C program files view games, beta server, program bin. Okay, there's our server. See, it says navigate to your program bin folder. Find beta server dedicated to INI, so beta dedicated. That's not it. Huh. No INI file. Maybe it's in one of these parent directories? No? Maybe we have to run it once and it'll make the thing, so. Okay, so it just popped up. See, it's running down here on MP arid. And just out of curiosity, let's see if it detects that on the game browser online. Probably not, but let's see. Sometimes it takes a minute too. Okay, so all we see is Kansas right now, and I'm pretty sure there's more. Let's try the actual game browser. Yeah, so you can see the new server is here. It is available, and I can probably join it. So yeah, the server is running, it's joinable. The only thing is it might, if you didn't set up your router right, it might not be available on the internet, only on your local network, but should be available on the internet if you set up everything right. So let's get out of this. So that worked. So if we click on this, let's see, TV server console, just shows us that we joined and left the game, and it showed that everything loaded successfully. There'd be errors there if it was not successful. We've got our advanced options, so you can set all sorts of stuff here. Most of it we don't need to worry about, like display and driver. Mostly you just want the game. Let's see, networking. Yeah, so this is what you want. So here's your server name, Chompo's test server. It'd be interesting to actually know the region numbers. I don't know what they are. I wonder if it's the same as like DVD region numbers. I don't know. You can put in your admin email and admin password so that you can change the map in the game, log in as an administrator and stuff. But really you just want to put in a name so that it's not just another TV server. You can adjust the beacon ports, which would have to be forwarded in your port forwarding settings if you weren't using the DMZ. The DMZ forwards every port, so you don't have to worry. If you're using DMZ, allow downloads, connection timeout, all sorts of stuff you don't really need to worry about too much. Yeah, so at least we give our server a name. Now let's go ahead and exit the server to close it down. And now we do have our INI file, so it does take one. You do have to run it once to get this INI that these instructions would wanted us to go to. So it wants us to do a Control F and search for this line. And you can see Chompo's test server. That's the same options that I had just in the visual menu. So you can either use that visual menu while the server is running, or you can edit the INI file directly. So server name, admin email, message of the day line 1, 2, 3, 4. None of those are super important besides the server name really. So now it wants us to find this, and it cannot find it. It wants us to find a password. There is no password. Okay, that's probably fine then. Because it didn't ask me for a password when I joined the game, so it's probably all right already. So admin settings. In order to be able to administrate your server, you must first create a login, which you can later use. So in your program bin folder, find tribesadmin.ini. Tribesadmin.ini. Change the following line to, so admin name by the default is just admin, password is admin, just like for routers. Privileges is empty, groups is admin. So that's all fine right now for defaults. You could put in your actual username and a password you want to use here, I guess. I don't think I've ever done that. I actually use a different server hosting program that's a little more advanced that I can show you guys in another video, but just to make a basic server, get it running, this is the easiest way. So there, we're all set to go. You're now ready to launch your server, run the executable. The IP of your server will be the same as your external IP. To know what your external IP is, you can go to a website like whatismyipaddress.com. You can also just open Google or a new tab and just say, what's my IP? And Google will tell you what your IP is. So that's what people have to connect to from outside of your LAN to join your server. They probably won't need to do that. If they do need to do that, the command is like open. If you're in tribes, you press the tab key to open the console, and you type in open and then the IP address to join it. But it'll probably show up in the server browser, so you don't even need to do that, but it's good to know sometimes. So yeah, that's all set up. So now, I mean, you can basically just take this, properties, run as an administrator always, which I know Windows 10, it's not that easy to do that, which is why I've never upgraded, because it's really a pain to do some of these settings there. Send to desktop. So now we've got our dedicated server shortcut. So now whenever we want to start our server, just go ahead and run that bad boy. And you can see it's running. We can click it to go to the console. You can see it's there. And you can see it in the server browser. You're also going to want to leave your home network, like go to a coffee shop or something and connect to the internet, and then open your game and see if this shows up in your browser here, because it'll show up here and be joinable without doing any of those router settings, but it won't be joinable from the outside internet. So to be able to make sure that your router settings are working, you have to go get online from another network besides your home network and make sure it's still available. And if it's not, then it's a router setting issue, but if you just set your DMZ host to your computer's IP address, it should show up on the internet. So that's about it. Yeah, I'll make a more advanced one with the way I run my dedicated server with the other software that kind of helps out a little more. But for now, this should just be good to get some people going. So yeah, hopefully we can get those Australian servers going, get one going in every region. And
Blood Eagle flag stolen.
yeah, I hope that helps you guys. No.
Phoenix captured a flag.